A statement gyakoze eri valid 100%.
It's valid.
Era mwe basamola mulina obuzibu mugyeyo amaloboozi bino ebintu twabyogera dda. I can authoritatively state and tell and confirm.
Kibadde kikangabwa kyamaanyi nti olwaleero webukeredde olunaku lwaleero ye nga mutabani wa President Museveni amanyikiddwa nga Muhoozi Kainerugaba afulumizza ekiwandiiko ekitiisatiisa Bobi Wine baaba ye Frank Gashumba avuddeyo n'atuwa bwino akwatagana ku Bobi Wine gwe tubadde tetumanyi na kumanya badde nkusaba osooka owulirize bulungi Frank Gashumba ng'ayogera.
Kyagulanyi 2021 general elections zali funded by President Yoweri Museveni. Sente zonna Kyagulanyi ziyakozesa mu kalulu ka 2021 zaali ziva mu State House. Mukwongere n'ekirala na kino nkyogera, I can state and tell and confirm buli mubaka wa NUP owa Buganda bamuwa $25 okumuyamba okukuuma akalulu ke.
Buli NUP eyodde flag.
Yes. Ekyokubiri kino nkyogera ng'era ntya Allah bakola endagaano tontabaalanga sikutabaalanga. Titewali wa NUP yenna gwe bajja kulemesa kulayira. Tewali wa NUP gwe bajja kujjayo mu kalulu. These are facts. Ekirungi nze ndi mulamu muganda nga Isimaye yafa. Nabyo mbadde mbyogera. Kyagulanyi is a project gye baatandika okulwanyisa Dr. Kizza Besigye. Kubanga Dr. Kizza Besigye was or he is the only credible opposition leader in Uganda. Kyovolaba emyaka gino gyonna ena Besigye lwabadde agezaako okwekalakaasa bamukwata bamusiba. Kyagulanyi bamukwatira Arua ne bamutwala eggulu omusango ogwakomawa.
Bagamba nti bamusanga ne muntu.
Gwakomawa. Yali azeeyo kulipotingayo nzija eruuka gwakomawa gwafa ogwa Buganda Road. Omusirusiru wali yaddala omugezi tegeera.
Jeno yiwaddeko obujulizi.
Besigye yekka era kyovola bali mu prison musibe kaakati.
Jena agenti fetwa muwase.
Yes.
Nze ne bajje n'abalala.
Yes. Milioni za $5 bazibawera na mweya. No bazibawera Kyobe. Safari Lodge.
Munoya district.
Yes. Gibazibawera ezimu ku party payments.
How much money?
Okisooka ka Bobi Kadingo bakiriziganya buli mwaka bamuwa $1,000,000 okudefusing okwekalakaasa. Kyagulanyi mwamulabyeko ku court martial ng'agenza okulaba Besigye. Kyagulanyi yagenzeko okulaba Besigye mu court martial. Mu abaana bamwe nga babayoola. NUP bagireeta kusaanyawo credible position. Era sebo Saabalwanyi ne Jona MK omulimu mwagukola mwebalire ddala kubanga tewakyali opposition. Kati balina n'endala gye bakuliyetinze.
Eriwa.
Ejja.
Bajjeno banne mwa Museveni.
Balina endala.
Balina opposition
endala gye bakuliyetinze.
Nga yakujja waanyo.
Kusaanyizawo ddala kye bayita opposition abantu bagirabe nga comedy. These are facts. MK byabagamba mazima. Sente baziwayanga mu bikutiya.
Sente y'omuwa.
Musa Babi. Kyagulanyi naye yamujjanjaba mu America. Report ngati mulwadde. Genocide.
What?
Yeah.
Ense kuwulira.
Atuuza kindi mu ssabo wano.
Bakuwulira.
Bampulira nze Gashumba, Frank Gashumba, omuvandimu. Original.
Baba wa
one man.
Kagwawa ku Gimo TV muzukuka abakyebase gwanga balitwala. The world is switched by who? Bigambo bya Bobi Wine. Bibi akedde postinga lukalala kuva waggulu mpaka wansi njagala olwesomereko bannaya. Nti Jeno Muhoozi biki President Museveni biki bandi be yabadde agamba bandi be yabadde asindikira message eno Uganda.
Unbelievable doesn't even begin to describe the political climate in Uganda. As we continue to witness what we're going through with the regime, the junta regime of Mr. Museveni. His son is set to cause chaos and turmoil that you cannot imagine. Last night, we want to believe that he was under the influence of alcohol or something. He went and used his X platform to threaten the political opponent of his dad and, by extension, of his, Bobi Wine. He said that if it wasn't the opposition, the resistance from his dad, he would behead Bobi Wine. I mean, these words are coming from the commander, the leader, the chief of our defense forces, saying these words. But this actually tells us more about the regime and its enablers and what they're doing in situations like this. Are you ready?
You're watching Mordecai Marissa Political Commentary. Please consider subscribing to help grow Uganda's Voices of Struggle ecosystem. Thank you.
Very glad to be here on Mordecai Marissa TV.
Hi, my name is Mordecai Marissa. I'm sure you're waking up, you might be watching this for the first time. And I decided to use English in this so that I'm able to reach a bigger audience. As many of you were sleeping last night in Uganda, the son of the president of Uganda went and used his X platform to threaten Bobi Wine. Bobi Wine responded as well. But this is what he said, just like you see on screen. Bobi Muhoozi, the chief of our defense forces, is referring to the leader of opposition in Uganda, saying this. Bobi, which can loosely be translated as the tiny or little Bobi Wine. Bobi knows that the only person, there's a capital letters here, the only person, he's putting emphasis on these words, that there's no any other person, and I'm going to come back to this. The only person protecting him from me is my father. If Muhoozi was not there, he's referring to his dad, I would cut off his head today. Museveni is the only man telling Muhoozi, you cannot do this. And Muhoozi is desperate. He wants to behead Bobi Wine. And it is only his dad that tells him that, no, you cannot do this. Imagine, this is the chief of our defense forces, bold enough to post this kind of information on his X platform for the entire world to see. I usually have arguments of people in Uganda who argue, I cannot support Bobi Wine because of ABC. I've always told them, there's no argument that holds any sort of substance that would stop me from supporting him, especially when you compare him to these folks. Muhoozi, where in the world has Bobi Wine ever posted about killing someone? Using this kind of language, I want to make sure that I restrain myself from getting over emotion. I don't want this to get the best of me. Bobi Wine was able to respond. This is what he said, as you see on the screen. The threat by Museveni's son, who also heads Uganda's military, to behead me is not something I take lightly. Absolutely. While we sort of sometimes engage in some sort of jokes and trivialize some of the things that he says, but don't take these things. This exposes the underlying motive of these folks. Either under influence or not, they are trying to show you who they are. Given that many have been killed by him and his father. Absolutely. Many Ugandans have been killed at the watch of his dad. Endorsed and enabled by his dad. Choosing a few men to go and commit murder in his name. And this son himself. And considering there are several attempts at my life, you know, they killed his bodyguard, many of his friends, they've tried. You know, when I had the conversation with Bobi Wine, he told me he doesn't even know sometimes how he's survived. Because he believes that he's walking in the enemy line every day. He continues. I refuse to be intimidated by cowardly regime. That's what I take. This is my takeaway in all this essay. The world is watching. When he says, I refuse, he capitalizes that term. I refuse to be intimidated by the cowardly regime. The world is watching, and absolutely the world is watching. Thank you so much, Bobi Wine, for saying this. Because all they want is fear. The politics of fear. Whipping people into a frenzy. That's why I don't buy into many politicians, people's favorites. Especially when they're using fear. Oh, this and this. Making you afraid of nothing. This is what he's trying to say. That if I can threaten Bobi Wine, then how about you, his supporter? We refuse to be intimidated. But let me go back to what Muhoozi said and show you how cancer of fear has spread in the body politic of our country. He said, Kabobi knows that the only person, what does this mean? That there's only one person who can stop any sort of criminality, any sort of lawlessness and impunity in the entire country, and that is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. The underlying message in this essay is, look, we've killed, we have abducted, we have tortured people, but we've been able to do this because we are endorsed by none other than the man himself, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. This is what happens when the constitution, the rules of the land, the laws of the land are pushed away and everyone kisses the ring of one leader, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. I've always told you that every time Muhoozi Kainerugaba makes such kind of a statement, one, look at it from an angle of a double-edged sword. One, it threatens Bobi Wine, and indeed, he can be killed. That's the intention. They want to kill him. But at the same time, on the other side, he's speaking to fellow UPDF and other officers in the military and telling them, I dare you. The only person I'm afraid of is my dad, Yoweri Museveni. I dare you. Show me what you can do. Because when he capitalizes, puts these words in bold, the only person protecting him from my father, if Mzee was not there, I would cut off his head today! Exclamation mark. The only person stopping him from committing any sort of crimes that he wants to commit is Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. What does that say? That the rest of other crimes that have been committed in the country have been enabled, endorsed by Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. What? But he continued. I will read you a few comments, other comments or posts he put on his platform. But a few days ago, Bobi Wine said this, as you see on the screen. The regime continues to embarrass itself, expose itself because of the pressure you are putting on them. Please do not stop speaking out on social media. They are trying to deceive Ugandans because they are afraid of sanctions. Absolutely. This is why I usually do not feel embarrassed when I say I had a guy who used to sort of mock me every time I said, oh, please, can you subscribe or follow this platform? Because I know the power of these, the power of these kind of platforms, social media. Use them. Expose the regime. Undress them to their funders. This is a ticking bomb. Soon, it's going to explode. And Museveni and his son will be no more. Now, that is a proverbial ticking bomb